All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the August 26, 2025 meeting of the work group. It is 5:05 p.m. The next item on the agenda is to continue discussion regarding Section 8 transportation. There are additional exhibits that have been provided by the district. With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Shafty for discussion.
The two items are the kind of the native or the unfiltered IEP related service report for transportation. It looks very similar to the report that was provided last time, except the filters were removed. So you see all students in the tabs year over year, and then the total counts curve to curve. We also are fortunate to have our director of ESE, Dr. Matthews, here for any specific questions that come up. She is our expert.
You want to talk about the...
Can I ask, please, if it's possible to share the document that you're referring to, Dr. Shafty?
Not this one. It has student IDs connected to it.
We did share, right?
But it was emailed.
Yeah,
and dropped in the
I
shared.
don't know that we have what you're referring to. The document that we have is one tab and doesn't have any student data on it. And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't referring to the wrong. I only have a document. It's titled Exhibit 8.3-E 08.15225 Native IEP Related Service Report Transportation XLXS. And then it has one tab at the bottom that
You might have to toggle. There are so many tabs that it will page over.
Okay, all right. So the data, what you were just referring to on the unfiltered data, can you walk me through that again now that I have the tabs open again?
Yes, I'll do my best, but Dr. Matthews, please correct me if I'm incorrect.
Okay.
All transportation related services are your first tab. It has the student ID. All students who receive that service has the grade level, the school, the specific coding for the primary exceptionality. They are going to be filtered with yes, because this is all students that receive transportation.
Right.
And then the specific need, whether it be, for some examples I'm seeing it's a harness, it's curve to curve, for each student. And then the secondary need would be the bus aid as well for many of these students. There are sometimes a third and fourth and fifth column, and then the single race is the final column.
So before this is a complete document of every child who has an IEP that requires service. So it's the only documentation that we have from a systems perspective that captures the students who require IEP regardless of race. So Daphne, between those two explanations, is there anything missing? Because I think the concern, just to set it up for you, is how do we know that the KPI is making sure everyone who is required services are being provided services? That was the struggle that we had. My assumption then, validated through you, is that this is every single child in the school system who has a transportation need.
Yes, that's documented on the IEP. So that's exactly what this represents. So each school and each student in the district, this document represents that they have an IEP with a need for transportation.
And when a need arises, so at school A, we have an IEP meeting, your team enters it in, and then it gets to transportation to route. Can you talk through what that process looks like?
So during the discussion, during an IEP meeting, if the need arises to discuss transportation, we add that to the IEP, and then through the vehicle of our student information system Focus, we log that into that area so that transportation is aware that that student requires a particular piece of transportation. It could be curb to curb, which understand is defined as not necessarily door to door. Curb to curb means that is the closest that the bus can get to the student's home. And door to door differs in that vehicle, or whether it be a van or bus, is actually picking the student up, say a wheelchair bound student, from that door. So it does differ. It's important to understand the difference between curb to curb and door to door. So this document shows you every child in the district who has an IEP and wants transportation, whether it be specialized transportation or curb to curb service. This is the way we're servicing those students.
And if there's anything you add, because what the NAACP is trying to ascertain is, let me read the actual KPI. Is it 8?
8.3.
Okay.
See, the district shall comply with transportation accommodations set forth in the African American students IEP. Is there anything that you can add to give them a level of comfort in terms of the documentation or any narrative that you could provide to help them make that determination?
Other than, remember IEPs are IDEA federally linked. So understand that the district has to and is mandated by federal government rules to document that every student is receiving what is needed in terms of, well, not only transportation, but related services and the like. So in that good faith effort, we are compliant gurus in terms of making sure that each student who has been eligible or deemed eligible to receive an IEP, that transportation item is there. So it's not arbitrarily decided. There's a peer system that we use, which is a state database that we report to as well, so that we're not just willy-nilly saying that this student deserves transportation or a particular, it keeps us neutral in terms of decision making, and that we are actually providing those services for students who, I guess, if I always think of a conversation where some at the IEP meeting feel that, well, I like this student a little bit better because he lives on this side of town, or this student doesn't have the access that may be warranted, but understand that we too are monitored through that peer system to provide the transportation. So it keeps the participants in the meeting neutral in terms of decision making. We're not biased about, or jaded, if you will, about a particular location or area that the student may be residing.
Okay, so with that, we'd be happy to answer any clarifying questions regarding the conversation that we've had, or, well, the information that we shared, or some of the data that we've provided.
Dr. Matthews, you've also provided last year, 23-24,
Yes.
22-23, and a tab of total counts for the snapshot glance in that spreadsheet.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I have a question about the sheet. So transport related services 20. I don't know why I have an echo. Do you hear an echo?
Yeah.
Slightly, we can still understand what you're saying.
Okay, so the transport related service 24.25. You also said in this document that is all of the IEPs. Is that what you were saying, Dr. Shafty?
You want
Go ahead.
me to answer?
Go ahead,
Okay.
Dr. Matthews.
Oh, okay.
No, Dr. Shafty was saying
Oh.
that we were provided the document with all of the IEPs, right?
The previous document was filtered by a specific race. This one is not filtered.
I'm not understanding.
So this document shows all of the students, whether they are Black, white, or Hispanic. This is inclusive of course, the Black African Americans, but it entails all the students. It's not filtered out to show just Black
But
students.
this is just transportation, right?
Transport, yes. This is a
Right.
transportation document.
And then we also have a document with all of the IEPs?
No.
Cause that, remember the question before, right? So I know I was the one who was like hung up on this one, because the question before was, like, what are we comparing to, right? So basically, we're trying to see that all African American students who have a transportation related thing in their IEP is being fulfilled. And so what I was saying was, yes, we could see a list with all of the African American students with their transportation designation and say, yeah, we're fulfilling all of these, but what are we comparing it to? So the base to compare it to is one with all of the African American students, right? With IEPs regardless of transportation. And that's how we know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because
I understand what you're saying, Dr. Matthews.
When we had the same conversation, like the first day that Ms. Barrenborg was on the committee, when she was saying these are all of the transportation IEPs, and I said, yeah, but we don't know by race, but we also don't know if it is all of them, because we're not seeing all of the African American students. To say of these, I think it was 600 that have an IEP, and only 163 in your document said was transportation. So how do we compare to know, like, I think this has been the same, like, how do we compare to know that it's fulfilled? I'm like, what's the base to compare it to, basically?
So, can I speak?
Please.
I think we need to be clear when it comes to specialized transportation. There's state criteria that a student must meet to be entitled to specialized transportation. Just because they have an IEP does not mean that they qualify. We have IEP students on gen ed buses. So basically, all students have access to transportation. The students with IEPs that meet the 5 state criteria then go on to receive further specific services.
So yeah, so I understand that. I understand just because you have an IEP, you do not have a transportation need. That's not a part of that. What I am saying is how do we, right? So you can tell me that, hey, everyone who scored below 3 was in this tutoring. You have a list of everyone that was in the tutoring, but until we see the roster of everyone who every scores and look and filtered out the 3 to be able to check against it, we don't know.
But Mershawn, is your question, would that require a review of the IEP itself to, in other words, are you asking for verification that the individuals identified on this report are the sum total of all students who are entitled to receive transportation through their IEPs?
Yeah, well, my whole thing is like, what are we comparing? Like, how do you know? What are you comparing it to? And that's what I said before. You know how you have a roster of kids, right? You have a roster of kids, but not all the kids need certain services, but you're able to filter out to see, like, okay, of the 600 and whatever Black students who have IEPs, only 163 needed transportation, but where's the roster of the African American students with IEPs for us to look and then be able to filter and see based off whatever their designation, it falls under this.
I believe the way the state database works is it only identifies students who have a IEP driven transportation. So
Right.
when you pull the data, it's going to ask for fields. So I don't know how to provide a check and balance other than to say every student in the system who requires transportation, regardless of color, you have that list. We don't have the ability to, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Matthews, to say this is every single kid in the system who has an IEP, and this is every single kid in the system who has an IEP and it has a transportation need.
Yeah.
They're 2 independent lists saying different things.
Yeah. I mean, if if it helps, Mashawn, I think maybe, yeah, if we looked at total number of IEPs in the district and then just share it out of the, I'm just using a number, 500, we have 250 that are, are Black students who are provided transportation. I don't know if that gets you to your answer, because what happens in this system, it's it's a system where we just are reporting per IEP. So if a student receives transportation, that's automatically logged into our state database. And yes, ethnicity is included or what have you, but when you talk about comparison, help me understand, do you need to know total first and then from that filter the number of Black students who are receiving the transportation piece? Because this document represents every kid in the district that is receiving transportation based on their IEP.
Well, I guess what I was looking for, but if nobody else cares about it, then whatever. But what I was expecting was the total Black students, right? Because we're looking at African American students, so the total African American students with IEPs, and then being able to filter and look at those who had the transportation accommodation, since that was the subject of what we're looking at. But if Tony, Kevin, Denise are fine, then you can just, I'm 1/4. You could just go ahead and bypass my concern.
And I'm not trying to put words, but this is a state database. This is the same information that's reported to the state in terms of, it's in, what do you call it, Daphne? I'm sorry.
Peer. It's peer.
It's in peer. So there's no other way. Every single student in the school system, you have it. And it is the same information that is federally protected. So that there's no more secure document that we could give to ensure that every student, when that IEP team says you have it, have a need for transportation.
You're saying we have what?
A document that is housed on the state system that identifies the children who need a additional transportation above the regular neighborhood stop. It's how the information is set and captured within the state's IEP system. There's no other way to pull. You're only on the list if you need it.
Yeah, well, what I was looking at is you guys gave us a chart that said 683 kids, African American students were on IEPs, and of those, 163 needed transportation accommodation. So I just figured, like, okay, maybe we can get the raw data that supported that to kind of look at it. But
and I think that, they have you have 653 kids, which is one pull down that have an IEP. Then you have another pull down that says, of the 653, which ones have transportation? So they're just not, it's not a filtered list. They're two independent pools, for a lack of a better way of saying it. Pulling data.
Is the peer program or platform that you just referenced, is that relevant only to transportation, or does that receive information for every student that has an IEP?
It's every student and every related service, including curriculum. So students who are on alternate assessment, they are also reported in that system. So it covers everything about that student who is eligible for an IEP.
So for example, and just to kind of walk us through for someone who's never worked with that program before, if a student is given an IEP and it has 10, forgive me for not knowing the terminology, accommodations or things that have to be provided to that student, is all of that information then input into peer with student's name, identification number, and everything else, and it's tracked that way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So everything, I actually, not to belittle our system, but we rely heavily on peer as opposed to focus. Focus is, we run with that, but peer is always it's fruitful because if a student is outside of our district and transfers in, I can see where that student was prior to, statewide. So if he's coming from, I don't know, Miami, we're able to see that, track that, and kind of know the history. I could look at previous IEPs. So it's helpful that that it truly is a statewide supported system. It's not limited to just Indian River. And that is our, the way our resource specialists input everything about that student, but it also supports neighboring counties or counties in general in Florida so that we are able to communicate with each other without having to pick up the phone and just ask, these vital questions. I can look at that previous school's IEP and be able to make some determinations about, whatever the issues may be.
And it's open, and this is available to the public, this site, you say? Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's not even available to everyone in the district. Naturally ESE is linked in, but no, it is not available to the public. I can pull peer reports based on what the requests are, and we do that for internal monitoring, but it is a bit like that document during an IEP meeting is obviously shared with the parent, but even after that meeting, it's limited.
Okay.
So when we were given the information the last time, it was different, and now the numbers changed. How did that happen? We notified a discrepancy, and now, of course, Dr. Matthews, hi, how you doing? You weren't here, so did somebody pull something different, and you have the accurate information? How did it?
Yeah,
change?
so just to follow up on that point, so Dr. Shaft, you had mentioned that the purpose of the revised document was to give us an unfiltered view of all of the students with IEPs, not just those that are African-American, who are African-American. We noticed that on the total counts by year for the August 15th revised document, there are some slight changes to the numbers. And we're wondering how that or why that would have happened in the data.
Or I'll let Dr. Matthews talk about it. It's that interrelationship between the student information system and the peer platform, as well as the transiency of students that are captured in peer not being fully district students. So there will be some discrepancies, but Dr. Matthews, you're more than welcome to jump in.
Yeah, discrepancies can exist between the number of students with transportation accommodations that are reported in, certain summaries, and understand that peer never dies. So in other words, those students remain active, whereas focus, the student could be disenrolled. So it's the data and the reporting systems that don't exactly match. And they probably never will because it's just two different entities. So there's a disclaimer at the bottom of that document to sort of, explain that a little bit.
So just for our understanding, when you provided this revised document dated August 15th, you actually went into peer and focus and regenerated the information without the filters. And then that created an Excel spreadsheet, as opposed to going into the previous document that was shared with us and then unfiltering that information. So you created a new report essentially.
Well, yeah, because the question, the second time around, when we revisited, we went back and included additional things. So that does change the numbers a little bit. But again, the two, in looking at that, the two systems, it was very hard to make them. I don't think you'll ever get an exactness. You may get an approximate or proximity in terms of range and number, but you won't get an exact. Even now, today, I could run a report from Focus and it's going to show some type of discrepancy within peer simply because of the fluidity of the systems.
And the numbers, it was 10 student difference that was regenerated, or was it significant difference? In my concern, and the concern is when, because I think pretty positive we've been here before, when we get a report and then we find a discrepancy in it, then we say, hey, this is not right, but we gave it to you, this is not right. And then we go back and look at it and find out that now you come with the correct information, or, and so it's just it's an agitating thing. you know.
I think the dates of the report are going to be important. The exhibit D had a date of 7/7/2025. This exhibit has a date of 8/15/2025. So I would imagine, Dr. Matthews,
Yeah.
that with enrollment, school
Yep.
starting, the counts will change from a summer pool versus a operating school system pool.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't pull that. So the first one was 7/7/25 and the second was 8/15/25.
It's dated in the file. Yep.
Okay, all right. So
So-
so the second pull from the second system wouldn't be as of 7/7/2025. So it would be the same because if it's a different date, it's going to show something different. So like if you have 200 students disciplined in week 1, and then by week 3, of course, it's going to be a number. But if you pull that same discipline report from a different system, but that same week, it should be the same number. You get what I'm saying?
So, yeah, I do. But I think the difference is because it's two different systems, it's so peer, remember, it never dies. Everything is captured. So sometimes students are inactive that are in peer. They've left the entire state, whereas in focus here, we will disenroll. The student is considered as withdrawn. So that's what causes it not to ever match. Peer is just is live, whether the student is in state, out of state, in the district, you know what I mean? It's once it's entered into peer, that student sticks. Focus processes a little bit differently. So I do understand the why of the question, but I'm trying to show that it's going to be very different because it is two different systems. That now focus does talk to peer. They talk to each other because we're able to pull some reports, but it just depends on what report you're running. That I've not seen a report to match exactly. It's just two different systems.
And focus is the district system and peer is the state system?
Yes.
Okay, so the first report was pulled from focus and the second one from peer.
Dr. Shafty, I'm not sure what information was submitted to the committee first, but I know that we shared out the peer information, and then we went back and did the unfiltered part where it's inclusive of every child.
Whatever Ms. Wolf provided,
Yeah,
wherever the source of the poll was
Yep.
from Ms. Wolf.
peer. Yep, it's peer.
Okay, and so okay, so we get peer. Now focus just has, if I'm correct, I don't know, I can get the kids report on focus, Dr. Matthews. So focus has like grades and all this other kind of stuff. And what all does focus include? If you could help me.
Everything.
About the student with an IEP. Yeah, I mean, if we're staying in the lane of IEPs, it's inclusive of, everything about that student, but also we're uploading that report, that IEP up into focus so that, people have access to read the IEP, like teachers who wouldn't have the peer access.
And focus, because I think we got some information from my kids on focus who don't have an IEP. So focus includes all students.
Yes.
And peer is all
limited
students or
to
just
IEP or EOT
IEP
students.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
So that is all the information that we have on that one.
I have a question before we move forward. So, Ms. Isla, you were saying that just because there is a transportation need in the IEP, that there's was it a 3-point system or a 4-point system that has to be met?
No, I said just because the student has an IEP, it doesn't mean that they qualify for specialized transportation. The state has 5 criteria that the student must meet, 1 of 5, to be eligible for specialized transportation. So we have numerous students that have IEPs that don't qualify for specialized transportation that are on a gen ed bus.
Okay,
So they have a bus stop, they have a regular bus stop. They're not eligible for curb to curb, a bus aid, and some of the other supports that come along with specialized transportation.
So if I'm correct, Ms. Jennifer,
Kevin,
what
you
you're saying,
hogging, Kevin,
My bad. But
Go ahead, Kevin, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think what she's saying is you might have a student with a colostomy bag or with a wheelchair, and they might require an IEP, or somebody who can't function enough to get across the street, and they might require special transportation. However, a student who might only be slightly dyslexic, and then
Learning
that's
disability, right,
learning disability, they might be on a mainstream bus. Am I kind of on the right?
right.
You hit the nail on the head. Yep.
Yeah, so I understood that. But my question is now, what is the criteria for the transportation designation?
So for specialized transportation, it's medical. It's the need for a bus aid or monitor due to disability. If the student is placed in a school outside of the county. Medical, so maybe like a student needs to be in a temperature controlled setting, a medical prescription from a doctor.
Okay.
How many was that?
Four.
Four.
Restraints,
Oh,
behavior, something with behavior, right?
No,
The harness?
no, those are in addition to.
So
So, yeah,
medical outside of the county, temperature control setting / prescription.
right.
And then what was the fourth one?
Aid or monitor due to the disability.
Okay.
Attending a school outside of the county. So for an example, we have a school for the deaf and hard of hearing in St. Lucie County. We have any students in Indian River County who need those services, they would automatically qualify because they would have to attend that school in St. Lucie County. What's the fourth, Dr. Matthews?
The shortened day, if you're on a modified day.
Abbreviated day.
Okay.
Abbreviated day, school day. Thank you
Okay.
for that.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
All right, so maybe just for the sake, we'll jump to H, which is the other information that we submitted, if everyone's okay with that, which is pending request data. That was it. The district shall ensure the duration of travel is not, want to go for the data?
Sure. So Ms. Idelette provided route sheets. For example, page 1 is route 1. You will see the tiers that have been discussed for elementary, middle, and high school specific times, as well as the description or the stop location associated with that stop for the route. I believe all 67 routes.
Yeah, 67.
Are you still talking? We can't hear you.
Nope, that's all. That's what you got, route sheets.
Last I heard was all 67.
Routes.
All 67 route sheets have been provided, and then you can see tier by tier, high school, middle school, and elementary.
And it's purely assigned based on where that student lives, versus the time that they're in there. So it's completely.
Give the total distance, the total time by route, by location.
And distance travel, right? So that documentation basically covers H and I.
So how does this? So 8.8 says the district shall ensure that the duration of daily student transportation is non-discriminatory. How are we able to compare this by race? The data that was provided.
Because race is not a determining factor in the assignment of a bus stop or time. The only determining factor is the location of where the student lives. So there's no.
So there are instances where race is not a determinative factor, but does have a discriminatory effect. So how are we able to determine that the effect is not discriminatory if we don't have it broken down by race?
So we don't have that data by race, by their specific stop. So that's the best that we can provide is the criteria. I mean, I understand what you're saying. But there's no way of determining. I think what you would be assessing is there a action the system is taking that is discriminatory? And because you're assigning based on where a student lives and where that school is, that's the decision tree that ensures that that can't be a practice. I don't know how else that, there's no way of saying at this particular bus stop, you don't capture it by,
No, not by race. Not by race.
So then when we say like, okay, so then insufficient data to determine this KPI, is that what we'll have to go with then?
Can I say something?
yeah.
I think that we probably need to look at the lens that we're trying to determine this data from, because I know when this came about in 1967, there were discriminatory acts against Black neighborhoods when it came to bus access. I can speak to that because my brothers actually experienced that. They had to walk to and from school. They didn't have a bus available to them. But now we're in 2025. You know, we're not in an area that's so segregated anymore. We have Black students all across our district, and there are mixed race populations on every bus. So just as Dr. Moore has communicated, we determine stop locations based on home addresses to the school that the student is enrolled in. Race is not a factor of how long a student is on the bus. It's the address in which they reside that determines that, because the bus goes to the furthest point and works its way back to the school. So I understand what you're asking for, but none of that is the source of a logistical plan for supporting schools.
Okay, so there is a case as recent as 2024 where a lawsuit was filed against New York's MTA, claiming discriminatory practices related to excessive travel times and insufficient routes for paratransit riders. So that was one. Then there's other ones where they talked about the busing duration as something that could be used and seen as discriminatory. So for us, all I'm saying is, in order for us to be like, yes, with the duration, we have to be able to break it down to more than just our system that we're using is not discriminatory, but more so of the effect, right? Because we all know that systems may be non-discriminatory on its face, but it's the actual impact and effect that determines, like that attributes to determining where it's discriminatory, which I'm not saying it is or it isn't, right? All I'm saying is we don't have the data to look at for it. So since we don't have the data and we're not trying to make the district do more work, are we going to say that it's insufficient data to determine this?
Yeah, I'm not. It's just not understanding what you're saying and understanding the structure on how bus routes are assigned. So it's extremely fluid. And if we condense a route or add a route, I could be a student at the furthest away home to a school. I think you make the determination in looking at each of the durations as a whole, starting with the furthest duration. And is that acceptable? And I know there's criteria that says, in terms of state law or state statute, all of those durations, regardless of whether who you are on that first bus stop, is acceptable both on pickup and takeoff. So we don't have any stops where the length of time exceeds what is required by law. And the variance in the locations and the depot stops that we have, yeah, I think we're in a pretty solid space. The fact that we have 68 routes now.
We have 62 routes.
62 routes for, we got a lot of buses.
Yeah.
But how can we say that if, right? I like using Fellsmere. Let's say we have a Fellsmere student who wants to go to Vero Beach High School, and then they have to drive to whatever location where there is a Vero Beach High School bus, and then they get on. Or we have a Gifford student going to Sebastian. How long does it take them to go from the low end of Gifford to Sebastian
I-
or wherever the depot stop is. Now, for me, it's important to be able to look at the travel time, like are African-American students on the bus 20 more minutes more than white students for the district? Like, just to say like, okay, because the duration for a route is not a certain time, or because we have mixed races on the bus.
So in that example, it wouldn't change the time because the depot stop, a parent has to transport a student to.
Right, I
So
get that.
the tier times are the tier times. So whether the student is coming from Fellsmere or coming from 0 to Sebastian, that doesn't impact the bus's travel time because the tier time is the tier time. And if I have to give you full transparency, it's because of the DSEG order that we do have 2 tiers with students, all Black, that's on a bus much longer than other students. You got students who reside in Gifford that have to attend Sebastian River Middle School. So they're attending a school 12 miles away from the area and where they reside
Right.
versus attending the school that's 1 mile away. Same thing for Sebastian Elementary. You got elementary kids on the bus for an hour traveling to Sebastian Elementary. So those, if I have to be full transparency, are the students who are on the bus the longest amount of time.
See, and that's what we would like to see. Like, that's the data we like to see. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
If I could interject, so we're going back and turning back the ends of time and relevance discrimination to today. So we're at fault because we wanted equality, not necessarily desegregation. So now it's our fault that these children have to be on the bus. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, that's not what you're hearing. We're saying because of that, these students are the students that are on the bus the longest. And that's why I said perhaps we need to revisit the transportation plan and how we're looking at it, because we do live in a diverse county now to where there are Black students who reside all throughout the county. I understand the purpose of the DSEG order. Like I said, I have a connection to it. My family was impacted by it. So I'm not blaming, but because of it, we do have students who are on the bus a much longer time instead of attending a school that's 1 mile away from the area in which they reside.
And that's, and I'm sorry, that's because they're being assigned to that school pursuant to the desegregation order in 2025. Is that correct?
Because of the desegregation order, these students are attending Sebastian River Middle and Sebastian Elementary.
But
I
that,
thought
not,
we were choice.
that, you do have choice, but the attendance boundaries, which was established, I don't know when, a long time ago, created that. So we will go through a process. Now, I'll be honest with you, a lot of times choice helps with that. So I have the choice as a parent to go to the school that's 1 mile down by my house. But if I can't get that transportation, the transportation, because of the established zone, that's where the school is driving. So we're going through an entire process this year in looking at boundaries as far as the innovation work, where, at the end of the day, what will happen, in terms of efficiency, your neighborhood school you should be going to the school closest to your house. And if you don't want that school, you can do choice. That's why I say you have buses crossing each other. And that's something I think probably generated because of the DSEG order way back when that needs to be corrected.
So can you walk? No, Mirshawn, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so how is Fellsmere Elementary like 90% Hispanic, right? Is it 93%?
I mean, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's definitely high.
So they're not zoned elsewhere?
I don't have the history on it, Rashawn. I don't think that school has the zone like Sebastian Elementary or what's your Sebastian Middle School.
Sebastian
Okay.
Middle.
And I don't know, like when Fellsmere came online and compare, I don't know how that worked or any rationales to. I mean, you make a good point. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't whoever did it Resilient do it for Beltsville.
It's it's 5:49. I might suggest that we take a vote to see where we are on these two items.
Matt, can I just want one question. And maybe it's not an easy question, but Dr. Moore, how does that work? How do the attendance boundaries work? Are they
It's a process where you have to notify the community about the suggested changes. You have to have public forums about the impacted change, because basically, if you think you live in neighborhood A, what this process would do is shift the boundary of the neighborhood assigned school. So even though we're a complete choice district, we have to go through, we just did it at Pelican Island, a lengthy process to notify the community. If you live on this street, your school going to school A, next year you're going to go to school B. We have public hearings, we take input, and then we bring it back to the board based on that feedback to make that recommendation.
But
So-
as of right now, I mean, so if I live in a certain area, there may be a school that's a mile away, but because of my address, I could be zoned a school that's 12 miles away for my children. Is that right?
Yes, yes, your zoned school in which transportation is provided may be, another school may be closer. And because we have, and I'm going to say this, it may not be correct, we have Vero Beach, Vero Beach, Glendale Elementary, and Citrus all within 3 miles of each other. And sometimes based on, Glendale may be closer to my house, but I go to Citrus and it may be, and looking at the maps, because there's a major highway in between. So sometimes the school closest to my house may not be my assigned school, but it ain't dang 12 miles away. It's only an additional mile or two. And the maps, in some cases, look like they make a lot of sense, because I don't want to, buses having to pass a major intersection takes more time to get to. So
Do you have copies of the maps and like which neighborhoods are zoned to which schools? Is that?
So funny you say that, because we're doing all of this work right now. The maps that I do have, I've asked to be verified to make sure that they are the most current and up to date. So once I have that verification, yes, because this is, we're going back
Dr. Moore,
many years.
Dr. Moore,
Yes, sir.
I would like to interject. You do know, maybe you don't know, that a lot of the lines and zoning were done basically to promote African-American male students going to Vero Beach High School for sports. You do know that, right?
A friend of mine has told me that story early on when I got here. So I was aware of that. But my specific look right now is elementary school.
But it's also when you do Storm Grove and with the choice factor that it is ballooned to the point that it's overflowing. It was coming from the Barrier Islands, what used to be Gifford Middle. It's a lot of nuances that are not being brought to the table. And when Mashawn gets to talking about them, it's often made to be irrelevant, or so it's just that we're not being totally upfront with our analysis of this busing thing. This busing thing was specifically designed to herd African-American students around the school district, right, wrong, or indifferent. And as we move west with the service area boundary moving, it's going to get worse because African-American students go even half further. Ms. Eilert mentioned in the past, if we're going to do that, let's look at the future. As we move into the future, it's going to be even harder for African-American students to access some of the better schools.
So I think just my natural response, I think choice is taking care of a lot of the concern. I think there does need to be a look specifically at middle schools. Gifford Middle School is our only middle school that's growing. I mean, it has more enrollment this year than next year. Where Storm Grove and Sebastian River and Oslo is they're about 25, 30 students down. But Storm Grove and Sebastian, because of the addition of the 6th grade centers in the K-8s, that enrollment is by design decreasing. So Storm Grove, it is not at all busting at the seams. It's significantly declined by design because parents have the choice and they're choosing K-8s.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big conversation to have and a good conversation to have. And just to be upfront, I think coming from a guy that was a principal in neighborhood schools, meaning 70, 80% of the kids walk to the school, it is best to be in a school that is closest to your house because it is the most convenient for your parent to connect and engage. And it's my responsibility, the board's responsibility, to make sure every single school, regardless of what neighborhood it's in, is a quality school that provides that opportunity. And if I choose not to go to that school, I should be choosing something that aligns to my son or daughter's interest. But in theory, the closest school should be your neighborhood school. And yeah, that would offset some of the other requirements in this plan that I don't necessarily agree with.
So that's part of the discussion, I think, when we had a lot earlier, when I said that Osceola had the lowest enrollment of Black students and of teachers too, which is another section. So does that in effect have anything to do with the choice too? And I think I asked a question of how many students from the Gifford area had chosen Osceola and were unable to go there because they had to choose something a little bit closer, or was there the transportation barrier cost? So I think that kind of still bears with me, and I haven't discussed that in my, we haven't, I think, reached on something like that. Okay. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah. All right, sorry, Matt. Yeah, because I know we're stopping at 6, so I don't know that we're ready to vote on the second one, but I think we are on the first one. If any, I don't know.
I mean, I'm happy to call a survey of votes, call a vote for KPI 8.3. If that's the works group's pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
All right. So 8.3, the district shall comply with the transportation accommodations set forth in African American students' IEPs. We'll start with Mr. Browning.
Not enough information for me.
Vice Principal Hart.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
I'm with Kevin with not enough.
Superintendent Moore.
Yes.
Dr. Shafty.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
I think he went in the restroom.
All right, we'll come back to him. Chair Barrenborg.
Yes.
I'll wait to hear back from Tony to capture his vote. Do we want to try 8.8? The district shall ensure the duration of daily student transportation is non-discriminatory. Anyone? Okay.
Yes. Hit your randomizer.
Yeah, no, I just need one member of the to take a vote. All right, we'll start with Mr. Browning.
No.
All right, Vice Principal Hart.
Yes.
Ms. Green.
No.
Superintendent Moore.
Yes.
Dr. Shafty.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
No.
Mr. Brown. Chair Barrenborg.
The current information, yes.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. We have two more items on the agenda. One is a call for vote on unitary status, Section 8 transportation. Does anyone have an interest in calling that vote? All right, and then the last item on the agenda is selection of the September meeting date and time.
All right, hold on. It seems like we're in this pattern for meeting
I
dates,
went
which
to
is fun.
the
Oh, Tony's back, Matt.
All right, Mr. Brown, I'm sorry.
you know,
I think he said no.
For which one?
Pretty sure it's going to.
the IEP.
Okay, so for 8.3, you're voting no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what about for 8.8?
That's the distance one, Tony.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I'm sorry I had to bail out. Couldn't help it.
It's okay. We understand you had a 6 o'clock cutoff.
Yeah.
Matt, his vote on 8.8 is no.
Okay. So what I was saying is, we're kind of in this rut where we meet the day after what happens to be our board meeting. So, oh, that's a bad thing. The 23rd. Oh, wait a minute, superintendent. Okay, Dr. Shaffi will not be there. I'm supposed to be at a superintendent conference. Does the 30th work? September 30th? Which is awesome. This board meeting.
Apologies, the Baker McKenzie lawyers have a conflict on the 30th.
Yeah, hold on. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. What day you get that?
Could you do the October 1st?
I could do.
We don't have.
Yeah, October 1st, good. No, I mean, yes, I could do October 1st. Yep. She's like, no, you gonna put me on the spot, man. You can put me on the spot. Except no.
Oh, Rashawn's not available that week.
Okay, that entire week,
Yeah,
we could do, it's a Monday, the 22nd. I don't know. Rashawn's not available that week. Okay. The 17th. I mean, just the turnaround is makes it maybe.
no, I think I'm sorry to interrupt. I think Dr. Moore, Rashawn was saying she's not available the week of the 29th. But is the 22nd okay
Yeah, that works.
for our team? Rashawn, Kevin, does September 22nd work for you?
They had to get off, so you might want
Oh,
to
right.
get a few dates and then get back with
Yeah.
them.
Yep. Okay, so you guys have availability, Dr. Moore, on the 22nd of September, on I think you said 17th, and then can you give me one more?
I can do it any Monday through Thursday with the only caveat, I'll be online because I'll be at the state conference for superintendents on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, but I don't mind jumping online. And Dr. Shafty will be in Ireland, all right? But she doesn't have to get online, though. She could be in Ireland. We will fumble through without you.
All right, Matt, so
Literally fumble
given
through.
that I've lost a few on our side, let me come back to you on the date that works for
Yeah,
them.
that's fine. Yeah, we'll make
Okay.
any day that week work.
All right, thank you.
All right, you guys have a good evening.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
evening.
Bye.